More details being released about Ferguson. It really does look like they're doing everything to prepare everybody on each side of this situation. That and more in just a moment.
Things I think while I lie awake and contemplate tonight are wearing me out. Well, maybe tomorrow the world will wake and get it right, but I have my doubts. During the day, well, I design machines of war that scream through the sky. 'Cause I, for one, I like to go to bed free at night under these stars and stripes. And I have my doubts that we're coming out. Yes, I have my doubts, and I have my doubts that we'll make it back out. Yes, I have my doubts, but they'll wind you up and pull the cord until you're spun right out. And I don't understand. Roll the dice and raise the price to feed the machine's mouth. Call it the progress of man. And I have my doubts that we're coming out. Yes, I have my doubts. And I have my doubts that we'll make it back out. I have my doubts, so I'll drink my stuff and raise some hell and shoot my guns to the end of my time. You can have the booze and go to hell and take the guns, but I know they won't be mine. I have my doubts that we're coming out. Yes, I have my doubts, and I have my doubts that we'll make it back up. Yes, I have my doubts. So we're all messed up and out of touch. Let's text someone who's in the other room. So no wonder why we don't say hi or know anyone. I might as well move to the moon. So maybe I'm wrong. Well, I hope that I'm wrong. So maybe I'm wrong. Well, I hope that I'm wrong. Well, the things I think while I lie awake and contemplate at night are wearing me out.
Revelation 10. And I saw another mighty angel come down from heaven, clothed with a cloud, and a rainbow was upon his head, and his face was as it were the sun, and his feet as pillars of fire. And he had in his hand a little book open, and he set his right foot upon the sea, and his left foot on the earth, and cried with a loud voice as when a lion roareth. And when he had cried, 7 thunders uttered their voices. And when the 7 thunders had uttered their voices, I was about to write. And I heard a voice from heaven saying unto me, Seal up those things which the 7 thunders uttered, and write them not. And the angel which I saw stand upon the sea and upon the earth lifted up his hand to heaven, and sware by him that liveth for ever and ever, who created heaven, and the things that therein are, and the earth, and the things that therein are, and the sea, and the things which are therein, that there should be time no longer. But in the days of the voice of the 7th angel, when he shall begin to sound, the mystery of God should be finished, as he hath declared to his servants the prophets. And the voice which I heard from heaven spake unto me again, and said, Go and take the little book which is open in the hand of the angel which standeth upon the sea and upon the earth. And I went unto the angel, and said unto him, Give me the little book. And he said unto me, Take it, and eat it up, and it shall make thy belly bitter, but it shall be in thy mouth sweet as honey. And I took the little book out of the angel's hand, and ate it up, and it was in my mouth sweet as honey. And as soon as I had eaten it, my belly was bitter. And he said unto me, Thou must prophesy again before many peoples, and nations, and tongues, and kings.
That is what many of us are doing when we're trying to bring the truth out, when we're trying to let people know what is going on in this world, when we're trying to get inside and get in between the television shows and the entertainment and the sports. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to cry out. There are so many things that are just absolutely wrong, and we need to be unified. We need to stop it. Why is it that up near Chicago, it's only those parents with those children that are in those schools that's learning those acts? And if you don't know what I'm talking about, it was a show either yesterday or the day before where they're teaching an unbelievable sex education curriculum to the students. And I'll leave it at that. Wow. You know, why aren't we as a whole nation, why aren't we addressing issues like that? Why aren't we talking to the people in our communities, even though we're not in that community? We need to all be talking. We need to all be doing. And that doing goes far beyond just posting on social media. It means picking up the phone, making phone calls. It means, you know, a lot of us can't be there physically, you know, because it's in one particular location. But there are things we can do. Awareness is one of those most important things. Talk about it. Make people engage you on it. You know, work together. Come up with ideas. I'm only one person. Come up with ideas of how things can be addressed even when it's not in your own community. We have got to do something. If you're a believer such as me, you know our Father had asked you to blow your trumpet. So blow your trumpet, blow it loudly, and do not stop. Be prepared for the persecution that you're going to face when you blow that trumpet. Those of us in this movement have been well aware. We've faced many repercussions. And I thank you and I bless you for hanging in there, for doing what you do. So anyway, let's get on with some news. As always, let's get suspicious observers out of the way. And I've got a lot of Ferguson information for you that I have been gathering throughout the day. A lot of conflicting stuff, a lot of, you know, we'll see. But let's go ahead and get suspicious observers out of the way so we can get on to the news.
Good morning, folks. So we remember yesterday's large filament eruption on the northeastern limb. There it is on Soho Lascaux C3, and it's the only solar eruption visible in what can only be described as a flat line of solar activity. We still have the big sunspot group on the Earth-facing side of the sun, but it's been in a stage of decay. Even with the Delta-class zone remaining, she fails to fire. So perhaps it's time we turn our attention to the incoming active region on the south. Barely visible when looking at the surface, but the umbral fields leaping up through the corona are beautifully revealed in 171 angstroms. Bartol, was someone listening? Neutrons chugged along, still rising, but within 2 hours of yesterday's broadcast, the muons updated as well. Here we are with data through this morning. We're at 102, within 0.5% of the highest I've ever seen it. Solar wind telemetry shows a calm stream, but with a twirl in the phi angle which tipped our BZ south a bit, caused some geomagnetic instability overnight, nothing major. Channel veterans recognize this as the mid-watch quake lull. We've been way over average shaking in this current watch period, but just had a day of moderate tremors only. Perhaps not so coincidentally, it comes as we are between coronal holes. The departing group there is what ramped seismicity in the first place, but we're between that and the incomer to the south. Gong shows our next opening is negatively polarized, coming in quickly. Earth will leave positive near-space influence before the weekend. You can see the dark hole coming in down south there. The solar polar fields had shown the flip was not complete as north dipped negative in mid-October, but jumped right back up at the end into positive, so now we wait to see if this is finally the end of the solar magnetic reversal. Update to Rosetta, linked for you below with some science findings. The comet is much harder than they anticipated. Read the update to learn more about the tests and results. I was pretty excited when I began reading this article about monitoring the solar wind interaction with the atmosphere. But my heart hit my feet when I got to the part about how they're just spraying more crap up there. Last year it was aluminum oxides from sounding rockets, and now it's barium and strontium. A cold weather emergency was declared in Washington, D.C., and I guess it's about time to update the weather records. We're starting with the daily records from NOAA. Last 7 days has been dominated by cold, pushing the year-long trend even further in cold's direction. Some of these numbers absolutely dwarf the corresponding heat records. Monthly records show about the same deal as the dailies, along with the all-time record marks, which are actually a bit more of a balanced picture. Climate extremes, back and forth. Still monitoring the Indian Ocean cyclone. The dip south is about to be a hook west towards land in the next day or so. We'll also eye a new storm in the South Pacific, approaching Chile over the next couple days. That low at the west coast has begun to crest onto land and will bring much needed precipitation out there, some freezing rain and snow further north. Meanwhile, we finally begin to get a little break from the bitter cold the next few days, even if only slightly. Meanwhile, the snowstorms are continuing in the northeast. Spot the convergence cresting España y Portugal, another flow coming over Ireland, and yet again the convergence to the east shooting up into the continent. The cloud lines follow those convergences to the lows, and the purple weather watches are no surprise as a result. Convergence in northeastern Australia is a loner, while we have a long flow from Western Australia extending all the way to New Zealand. How about some weather shares from the South Island if you got them? We got shots of our star to close. It's 5:55 a.m. Eastern Time, and that's the news. Eyes open. No fear. Be safe, everyone.
And thanks to Suspicious Observers for his report. As always, you'll find the link down in the About tab for that. So, Ferguson, Missouri, Michael Brown, grand jury indictment. Wow, those are starting to become some very frustrating words for a lot of people that live in the St. Louis area. But they should be words that everybody in the country are paying attention to. A lot can come out of what is going to happen in Ferguson. So the first thing that I want to discuss is something that I didn't link to because it just popped up in my news feed. right before the show, and I thought one of the comments was very interesting in it. And it was this post from a local news station, KMOV. And about this post, what struck me about it was one of the comments under it, because, again, I'm only one person. I don't catch quite everything. And it was somebody else that made a comment. And, again, you have to take the comments loosely, because there's a lot of people that are against the protesters. You know, it's amazing the I don't know, the short-sightedness, the shallowness. You know, most of these people just want to protest. They don't want to loot. They don't want to riot. They don't, you know. See, here we go. I pointed out, you know, the other day I pointed out that that they were talking about welfare and stuff like that on the news, and they were trying to get that financial class argument going. And here you go. Just throw some food stamps at them. They will drop the water bottles and go for the stamps. You see what I mean? It's crazy. It really is crazy. But there was somebody, and I was looking for the comment, and I don't see it. It's probably up the list, and I'm not going to go digging for it. But what the comment was that this was a picture, or a meme, as they referred to it, as a protester starter kit. And that really kind of tweaked my attention when I seen that, and I thought, you know what, that is exactly what that is. It's and that's probably what the intention of KMOV was to try and give people ideas. Apparently there is a group that is handing out this gear, but you know, this would allow people to build their own kit based on what the others are handing out from their experiences at protests. And it's like, wow, okay, I do see what they are doing there. And I just wanted to I wanted to share with you that, like I say, I don't have the link in the About tab to this. If you go to KMOV's Facebook page and you scroll down a few articles down, you'll see that image. You can leave your own comment there if you like, if you enjoy beating your head up against a wall. But anyway, yeah, I wanted to point that out. So let's get back to the news I had scheduled. First off, there's been a lot of debate on when this is going to happen. On Alex Jones today, I did watch Alex Jones today. Alex thinks, tomorrow night there's supposed to be some type of speech that Obama is giving about immigration or whatever. Apparently there's some TV stations that are threatening not to show it or whatnot. I don't know. I didn't really get involved or dig into that. But so Alex Jones's opinion is that they will announce the decision tomorrow night during that speech. So, and he's got a point. That would be a good time, I guess. But Fox 2 Now, sorry, taking a sip of coffee. I deserve that once in a while. This is the report by Fox 2, or actually by CNN. But it says CNN reports Ferguson grand jury could reach decision as early as Friday. The grand jury hearing its evidence on the Michael Brown shooting is preparing to meet Friday for what might be its final session, and a decision on whether to charge Officer Darren Wilson could come the same day. Law enforcement officials, if I can talk right, briefed on the plan, said Fox 2 News is working on confirming this report. St. Louis County prosecutors are preparing to present more evidence to the grand jury before starting deliberations, and a decision on an indictment is expected soon, after the law enforcement officials said. So I'm just going to announce, probably somewhere in this article, they're going to point out that Michael Brown was a black unarmed teenager and Officer Darren Wilson was white. I'm getting pretty good at this. Anyway, if the decision comes Friday, prosecutors are expected to provide law enforcement with 48 hours notice before making a public announcement, possibly on Sunday. The current plans could still change, and prosecutors could shift the planned grand jury session, the officials said. Prosecutor Robert McCullough has said he plans to make make public all evidence and testimony presented to the grand jury, but there is growing concern from some on how to deal with the identities of people who have testified, the sources say. Concerns have also been raised that some witnesses could be put at risk once their testimony and identities become public, law enforcement officials said. In some cases, witnesses might have testified differently under oath, providing different accounts than the ones they gave in the media interviews, the official explained. Others may have provided testimony that may be interpreted as helpful to the officer's account of the August 9th shooting. A spokesman for Nicola's office said the prosecutor hasn't decided whether to redact names of witnesses. The spokesman declined to comment on possible timing of the grand jury decision. And I was wrong, by the way, and I will publicly apologize. Fox 2 did not point out the race of the two people. Wow. Because I know KMOV, man, every single article that they have, they pointed out on KMOV. KMOV has really been, and that was the news station that I used to watch, was KMOV, and they have really been pushing it hard, trying to start as much problems as possible. And if I'm not mistaken, they are the most watched news channel there in St. Louis area. So, wow. So let's get on. Another report from Fox 2. Mayor Slay outlines National Guard role in St. Louis, something we want to pay attention to. St. Louis Mayor Francis Slay sent a letter to the Board of Aldermen Tuesday in which he outlines the National Guard's role in the city and what he expects from officers. He says the city is requesting 400 National Guard troops who would work 2 12-hour shifts, 200 each. He says the Unified Command has agreed to about half of the 19 requests of the rules of engagement put forth by protest groups. In the letter, Slay says, our goal is to keep all of our citizens and their homes and businesses safe, including those who are in neighborhoods that are nowhere near the protests end up being concentrated. He goes on to say, I do expect that some of the demonstrations will be peaceful and disruptive. I do expect widespread civil disobedience and subsequent arrests for low-level municipal violations. I do expect our state, our region, and our city to make substantial change going forward. I do expect we will get through this better and stronger. So, wow. And there's a link here. I don't know what that's going to take. Oh, wow. That takes you to a PDF. I wish I could throw that out there for you real quick. But apparently it's a letter. I'm not going to read it because it's a bunch of jibber jabber anyway, I'm sure. But there is the link, by the way, for this article I just did is in the About tab, so you can actually get that pretty easily. Sorry, I'm kind of being idiotic there. So yeah, you can get that PDF easily enough right there. And it's just, it's crazy. It is absolutely crazy. And they still want us to believe that, oh, they don't know what the decision is. Why aren't people saying anything about this? That's what I think people need to take a step back and say, okay, wait a minute. Why are we being played with here? Why are you sitting there playing around? You know what the decision is. You would not have gone through all this preparation if you did not already know what the decision is. Because I really don't see people stating that they're going to protest or anything else if he is indeed indicted. I don't see anybody stating that they're going to protest or really do much of anything if he's indicted. I haven't seen it yet. And if anybody has, point it out to me. Maybe I just haven't seen it. But it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. We're being played. It's like a game. And I think people should be addressing Slay and everybody else involved in this, the grand jury, everybody, well, not the people themselves, of course, but I guess the judges in charge or whoever's technically in charge of it. Department of Homeland Security, you know, they need to be addressed on this. This is turning out to be a TV show, right? And I understand what they're doing. They're trying to prepare. They're getting things ready. They're buying time. That's all they've been doing for the last 3 months or whatever, is stalling for time. And a lot of people just aren't really, to be honest, bright enough to pick up on that. If people really was interested in doing something, As far as to force a change, and I'll leave it at that. They should have already done it long ago, because all you're doing is giving them time. And that's all we've been doing with the government, in essence, as a whole, whether it be with the financial, economic problems that we have in this country, or whatever. You know, I mean, we had Occupy Wall Street, what was that, 2011 or whatever? And you know, that fizzled out, and there really hasn't been anything as far as a big push since then to make bankers and corporations accountable. And all that did was give them time to prepare. This entire time they've been preparing, because the people are going to rear their heads again on the same issue, because they're still squeezing and they're still tightening the reins on the people. I've said it a million times. I'll say it again. The worst words you can ever hear is we need to better compete in the global economy, because what that means is we have to lower our standards of living, because you have to understand, like, people in China have a much lower standard of living as far as the normal people, because they work for very little money. They have very little. You know, the normal class, or the general class, I don't know what you want to call it, they have a lower level of standards, their standards of living. So that's the only answer. To better compete in the global economy means that we have to not be the country that we are today. And the only way that they can do that actually is to collapse the dollar. That's what they're working on now. But anyway, that's a different rabbit hole that we're not going down this evening. But pay close attention to that. Also in Ferguson news, this was reported on InfoWars as well. Military deploys chemical, biological, nuclear, and high-yield explosive response vehicles to St. Louis. Wow, huh? As it says, the Missouri National Guard deployed to the St. Louis region on Tuesday, one day after Governor Jay Nixon declared a state of emergency. CERFP Enhanced Response Force Package assets were spotted in Chesterfield in West County. The vehicles are used for CBRNE events: chemical, biological, radiological, nuclear, and high-yield explosive events. The Missouri Guard owns several of these vehicles, and that's what they chose to call up for the state of emergency. About 10 states own these vehicles, Missouri being one of them. The 10 states correspond to the 10 FEMA regions. Pay attention to that. The program was funded by the feds. Hopefully, they will not actually need these vehicles. I don't know about you folks, but I'm really starting to smell false flag here. I really am. I'm really starting to smell something's up. It's, wow. I don't know. I'm not getting a good feeling from it. I never had got a good feeling from it, but it's just getting worse and worse. And the way the media is playing everything up, you got to be very mindful and watchful of that. If the media starts playing something up, you know they're up to something. They're not just trying to get ratings, folks. That's not their only goal here. So anyway, wow. They're doing, and I'm telling you, they're doing everything they can to light the biggest fire that they can, even canceling popular entertainment events. Hunter Hayes cancels concert due to state of emergency. And I'm going to be honest, I don't even know who Hunter Hayes is. I have no idea. He apparently didn't visit the rock I live under. So anyway, and I just dropped my Bible. Don't do that. That's probably not very nice. Yes, sometimes I hold the Bible while I do the show. A lot of times, actually, I hold the Bible while I do the show. So, sorry about all that noise and racket. So anyway, I don't know this guy. Don't hold it against me. I personally don't listen to country music. Don't shoot the host. So, country singer Hunter Hayes canceled his concert that was scheduled to take place at Chaffetz Arena Thursday night out of respect for Missouri Governor Jay Nixon's declaration declaring a state of emergency in Missouri. Hunter Hayes' Thursday, November 20th show, that would be tomorrow, at Chaffetz Arena in St. Louis has been canceled. A press release announcing the cancellation said tickets will be reimbursed at the point of purchase. At this time, all other university-related events at St. Louis University this week are planned to go on as scheduled. Wow. So, and I would say, excuse me for the frog in my throat, I would say to keep an eye on those events that are still scheduled, because I have a feeling you're going to see more and more of them canceled. But really, I mean, come on, cancel a concert, you know, and it just doesn't make sense. It's not like Chaffetz Arena is right next to Fort Ferguson, and I know there's protests and demonstrations and everything. I know that are all over the St. Louis area. I know they expect it to be a much broader area than St. Louis, that different activities go on. I get that. I understand that. But come on, you know, I mean, they're making each and every protester sound like they're a terrorist and they're out to harm people, and that's simply not the case. Another reason I say worry about a false flag is because if you notice, like with 9/11, there were certain key people that just didn't go to work that day, right? They just didn't go to work. You know, I don't feel good, you know, whatever the case may be, you know, call in with a lack of interest. They tend to protect their own. Those that are in the know, they protect their own. So I want you to pay attention to that. Entertainers, a lot of entertainers, I'm not saying they know everything, but they do get heads up. It's amazing the people that just happen not to be in the area or whatever when bad things happen. So pay close attention. I just wanted to point that out. It's not my tinfoil hat speaking. You can go back, you can look at many different events over our history, and when big things happen, people that should have been at those places weren't at those places. Very interesting stuff. So I'm getting faster than I thought I was going to, which is okay. I've got some stuff that I can go over to close up the show. Important, goody stuff. Report: planes used to gather cell phone data. And me and Heidi and Humanity had spoke a little bit about this the other night, but I didn't get a chance to do the report yet, so that's why I'm throwing it at your way this evening. And I do, by the way, I do associate this a little bit with Ferguson, because I think people that are down there live streaming, the citizen journalists and the protesters themselves, I think everybody needs to know this information, whether it just be for this Ferguson ordeal or whether you live in the state of California or Nevada or wherever you live. This is something that people need to know. The Justice Department is collecting data from thousands of cell phones through high-tech gear deployed on airplanes that mimics communication towers, the Wall Street Journal reported Thursday. Now, I want to point out that they had, and I didn't look, I asked Heidi that night, and it slipped her memory. She couldn't remember the name of the device, and I can't now. It might even say it in the article. But they have briefcase-like devices that they can do this with. They have found actual cell phone towers that they are doing this stuff with, and now it's coming out that they're doing it from planes, from airplanes just flying over. I'm telling you folks, there ain't nobody that has safe data. I don't even care if you have a satellite phone. I guarantee you everything is being monitored and recorded. That's no tinfoil hat stuff. The least bit of research will tell you that. The newspaper said the hunt for information about criminal suspects is also collecting data from many innocent Americans. Citing sources familiar with the operations, the newspaper said the U.S. Marshal Service program, which became fully operational in 2007, Now, I know for a fact that they've been recording landline phone information and stuff like that ever since the 80s, okay, and cell phones. As soon as the cell phones, by the time the cell phones hit the market for the general public, they were recording everything. It's a fact. Anyway, operates Cessna aircraft from at least 5 metropolitan area airports to collect the data. The airports were not identified in the journal story. The planes are equipped with devices that mimic cell towers of large telecommunications firms and trick cell phones into reporting unique registration information. The 2-foot square devices also allow investigators to collect data from thousands of cell phones in a single flight. The journal reported the devices collect their identifying information and general location. The Justice Department would neither confirm nor deny the existence of such a program to the journal. An official told the newspaper the discussion of such matters would allow criminal suspects of foreign powers to determine U.S. surveillance capabilities, adding that Justice Department agencies comply with federal law, including by seeking court approval. And we already know that they're doing this stuff without court approval. Calling it a dragnet surveillance program, Christopher Soghoin, chief technologist at the American Civil Liberties Union, said it's inexcusable and it's likely to the extent judges are authorizing it. They have no idea of the scale of it. The device being used by the Marshal Service identifies itself as having the closest, strongest signal, though it doesn't. And it causes all its cell phones that can detect its signal to send their unique registration information. Cell phones are programmed to connect automatically to the strongest cell tower signal. Phone companies are cut out in the search for suspects. Law enforcement has found that asking a company for cell tower information to help locate a suspect can be slow and inaccurate. This program allows the government to get that information itself. People familiar with the program told the journal they do get court orders to search for phones, but it isn't clear whether those orders describe the methods used because the orders are sealed. Go transparency, huh? Look, there's a lot of rhetoric going on, and the latest I heard, I think, was something by AT&T and how they're pushing back against all this stuff. They don't need to go through them. This is what this article is telling you. This is another one of those things I was discussing, like at the beginning of the show, where we need to come together. We need to unify. You know, look, I've heard it a million times. Well, don't do nothing wrong. You have nothing to worry about. I still ask the same question. How many people said that in Nazi Germany? How many people? Look at what happened to them. You know, and we need to come together. We need to stop our little differences. We need to turn off the TV shows. We need to quit watching the ball games. We need to have a serious discussion in this country. It's already too late, because the moment that we push back, you're going to see just how powerful they are. And there will be a pushback. I guarantee you, at some point, they will squeeze you and I enough that people will push back. The question is how much ability will we have? Right now, we still have some ability. I really don't know how much, but we still have some ability. But we got to do it just as they're going to do it to us. We have to do it quick, and we have to do it fast. I mean, there's no other way to put it. But sitting there, living inside our bubbles, ignoring what's going on in the world around us, it's going to take away all those things that people are enjoying right now. I'm not saying that you're a bad person if you enjoy watching a ball game or a TV show or enjoy playing a game. That doesn't make you a bad person. What makes you a bad person is if you don't do anything about losing those things. That's the only point I'm trying to make. And they've come out. Oh, by the way, those briefcase things, they put them in their police cars. That's where they're commonly found, is in police cars. I wish I could remember the name of them, but I can't. And the article didn't say. That's the way it goes. So anyway, let's get out of the United States for a little bit. There is an entire world out there. Russia engaged in serious military near Ukrainian border, and both NATO and Russia are doing this. They're building up in mass at the border. The head of NATO warned Tuesday that in addition to deploying forces and military equipment into eastern Ukraine, Moscow is now engaged in a serious military buildup on the Russian side of the border with Ukraine. We call on Russia to pull back its troops. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg, wow, I really need to take some Russian lessons, said as he arrived for a meeting with EU, maybe I need to take English lessons too, EU defense ministers in Brussels. Mr. Stoltenberg, I think I got it right that time, a former prime minister of Norway, well, maybe it's not Russian then, who took up the NATO leadership post last month, said the alliance is an intelligence showing a flow of Russian troops, tanks, artillery, and advanced air defense systems into eastern Ukraine. Reuters reported that he said the Russian actions violate a September 5th ceasefire agreement, the so-called Minsk Protocol, that German leaders negotiated between Russia and Ukraine. Ukrainian forces for months have clashed with Moscow-backed separatist rebels around the city of Donetsk in eastern Ukraine, and the recent troop buildups, along with an uptick in violence in the area, suggests the tenuous ceasefire has all but collapsed. Last week, NATO's Supreme Allied Commander, U.S. Air Force General Philip Breedlove, cited intelligence showing columns of Russia equipment, primarily Russian tanks, Russian artillery, Russian air defense systems, and Russian combat troops entering into Ukraine. General Breedlove said Russia also appeared to be reinforcing its military bases in the Crimean Peninsula. We need some English. Maybe this is why I avoid foreign stories, huh? With equipment that is capable of being nuclear, but added that NATO wasn't certain nuclear weapons were being deployed. Russia this year annexed the peninsula, which had been a region of the Ukraine. The latest developments have prompted fears in Washington that Moscow may now be preparing to try and repeat its Crimea.
NATO's.
Wow, where did that come from, huh? Sorry about that. Blew my eardrums out too. And repeat its Crimea action by annexing a wider swath of eastern Ukraine. But Russian officials have denied charges they are expanding Moscow's military presence in the area. Major General Igor, oh my goodness, Konashenkov. Sometimes I just got to try no matter how hard it is. A spokesman for the Russian Defense Ministry called General Breedlove's claims unfounded last week. We've stressed many a time that there are no real facts behind the acts of shaking the air by Brussels officials, said General Konashenkov, who accused the NATO commander of making alarmist anti-Russian allegations. Wow. I wonder if there's like a college class I can take on names. I need it. Oh, goodness. All right, we've got 15 minutes left. We can talk about last names if you'd like, but I don't think that would do too well. I had something. I think I put it down in the About tab. I am not sure. I'd have to look again at the show. If not, I'll try to remember to add it, or you can Google it. A thing from prepforSHTF.com. I like doing articles from their show because I do believe I did put this down there. Because they have some really good articles when it comes to prepping and preparedness and stuff like that. And I thought this was a good article. This is good knowledge to have because of what it's, well, we need to know where we can get things. I don't mean to sound all jibber jabber here, but we need to know where we can find certain items and different things in the event of a disaster or whatever might appear to be a disaster. We need to know where to get some different items that will help us out. And this is a good place. 10 survival items to scavenge from abandoned vehicles. And boy, there is a lot of useful stuff in an abandoned vehicle. A lot. stripping abandoned or disabled vehicles for survival gear and materials. Only on a survival reality show would you expect to find an abandoned vehicle sitting along a wilderness path or crouched in the middle of the desert. However, if you had to bug out from an urban area because of a crisis, you would find a multitude of abandoned vehicles along the way to your safe haven. In addition, your vehicle may break down, leaving you stranded while traveling across the desert region while in the mountains or in any remote area, so it can be used to help you survive. Of course, people would be reluctant to start tearing their vehicle apart, and logic dictates you stay with the vehicle if you expect to survive. But if your vehicle were on a roadway in areas that may have avalanches, for example, then you would have to get away quickly, leaving the vehicle behind. In some cases, the only way to survive is to make your way out on your own. But before setting off, you need to consider what your vehicle can offer you in the way of survival material. A vehicle is shelter primarily if you become stranded, but if traveling on foot and you come upon one and cannot remain in one place, then the vehicle can be salvaged for survival items. Seat covers. Seat covers can be used as shelter material, covering for the body, ground insulation, or even made into a pack for carrying items. Leather seats can be harvested to make shoes, clothing, leggings, chaps for traveling due thorny, heavy brush, or used as a poncho. The padding in the seats can be used for ground cover or for insulating the inside of your shelter. The springs inside the seats could be used, but they are under pressure, and unless you can identify several uses for them, it may be better to leave them alone because they can cause an injury. The wire cutters on a multi-tool would not likely to be sufficient enough to cut through the springs. Well, can't speak. And that's true. I mean, I've even got I did sacrifice one of my my Leatherman, and with the split up of the family, I did get my cheaper, that's the way it goes. I got my cheap Leatherman out of the deal, but unfortunately, my good one was left down in Alabama. But anyway, yeah, that was me opening and shutting it. So yeah, and it's even though it's a Leatherman, it's nowhere near good enough to cut through a spring like that. So, but that's some very good information just about the seats alone. Wiring, of course, can be used as cordage, and it has multiple survival uses from snares to shelter building. Strip copper wiring can also be used with the vehicle's battery to start a fire. Or if you smoke e-cigs and you run out of Canthal wire or nichrome to make a... Never mind, I'm just kidding. I wouldn't recommend it. I don't know what kind of chemicals are in that wire. I just had to add that. Headlights. The glass can be used as a cutting tool. That's if they have glass. Most of them are plastic anymore. The glass can be used as a cutting tool if the shard is long enough to wrap in duct tape to create a handle. The headlight case and lamp can also be used as a parabolic reflector lens to create a fire. The lens reflector is well polished, so it can be used as a signal mirror as well. The reflector that houses the bulb can be used to start a fire by placing tinder in the center and placing the reflector in direct sunlight. The reflective sides will direct sunlight to the tinder, and it will magnify the sun's rays enough to create an ember in the tinder. Use the glass from the headlights as you would eyeglasses or magnifying glass to create a fire. So yeah, good news, or good information, but there's not a lot of glass headlights anymore. Most of them are plastic, to be real honest, but they still do have that parabolic lens, or the parabolic mirror. So, and then the glass coming from windows and such, that wouldn't make a good cutting tool or not, because it's safety glass. It has plastic. When you break it, it's just going to like shatter. I'm sure you've seen broken glass windshields and stuff. I mean broken, not just cracked. Anyway, not going to go off on glass. Junk in the trunk. Wow, we could really get off course there, huh? Junk in the trunk can be useful stuff, such as a tire iron, which would be a valuable tool for digging, prying, or for self-defense against animal and human. You may find siphon hoses, which can be used to make a field-expedient slingshot, used as a tourniquet, and can also be used to lash items to your backpack or to tie items into bundles. The carpeting can be used for shelter building or ground cover. The scissors jack or other types of jacks could be used for some things, but once again, unless there is a clear purpose for these items, you should leave them behind, because remember, you will have to carry everything. The plastic lenses over the backlights, brake lights, can be removed and used as cups for drinking or eating from, or used as containers to gather water and food in. And I want to throw in a warning there. Last case scenario, do that. You would much better, if you don't know how to make a cup, for instance, out of tree bark, there's a real simple way, YouTube it, how you can make I think a lot of them do it out of like willow. So you might want to put willow in your search terms. But yeah, you can make a real simple cup just out of tree bark if necessary. And I would say you would rather trust drinking out of tree bark than what you could some type of plastic like a tail light is made out of. Just saying. I just wanted to throw that out there. Battery cables would have a specific use if the battery had any charge in it. The clamps could be used for clamping insulation to shelter walls or securing items to a pack, or for hanging lightweight items off of the ground for securing illumination overhead in your shelter. I don't know if they're going to say anything. Well, let me just get through this. We've got 7 minutes. I'll just read. Under the hood, the battery would be useful if it had a charge, because you could start a fire by attaching the battery clamps to their respective posts and tapping the ends together to create a spark away from the battery. Another way to start a fire is by clamping a thin, bare piece of copper wiring to one clamp, and before attaching the other clamp to the opposite end, place the bare wire in some dry tinder. Once you attach the remaining cable to the wire, the current will cause the thin wire to heat up enough to ignite the tinder bundle. The hood or trunk lid. It is not likely you would have the tools available to remove the hood or trunk lid, but it may already be done for you in some cases. And if you could get them removed, they could be makeshift shelters. It would be rather easy to create a lean-to using a vehicle's hood, providing the vehicle itself could be used for shelter. For example, because the glass is smashed out and our four-legged tenants have moved in. Leave the insulation attached under the hood to help reflect heat from the sun and to retain heat if building a fire underneath in cold weather. Using them as makeshift sleds, however, I don't know that word, would be difficult because of the weight and design. The door panels. You can use the door panels as sleds, however. The panels are light enough to drag them over the sand, grass, gravel, or snow. Some panels are attached only by clips. Some will have both screws and clips holding them in place, and the screws are usually under vanity panels at the handles. This is where having a multi-tool on you comes in very handy. Tires. Tires today have steel cable running through them, making it very difficult to cut up for shoes or for other uses. They can be burned, however. You can make a signal fire, but the smoke is toxic, and in most areas, it would be illegal to burn tires. Look, if it's a end-of-the-world situation, an SHTF situation, I don't think you're going to get, ticketed for burning a tire. But in a survival situation, you get out alive first. Better be tried by 12 than carried by 6 is the old adage. Inner tubes. In older cars, you may find old inner tubes, which can be cut up to make essentially large rubber bands. The bands can be used for lashing items onto your pack or body, used for tourniquets, and can be used in shelter making. There are literally dozens of uses for rubber bands in a survival situation. Duct tape, too. You can tape my mouth shut. Anyway, beside the point, you might find that in the trunk or glove compartment. Window glass indoors, right? The top of the glass is not polished, and that unpolished portion can be used as a knife sharpener. You catch that? It can. They work really well. I'm telling you, I've done it before. Duct tape. Now you see why I brought up duct tape. Duct tape. The sharp edges, leaving the rough surface exposed to carry as a knife sharpener. Make several sharpeners this way so you have extras. Glass today is layered with plastics and resins, so the surface may wear somewhat with use. So having extra means you have a fresh sharpening surface when needed. The rest of the glass can also be used as cutting tools. By knapping, you can shape the glass with a stone or other hard object and then use duct tape and or use leather from seats for a handle. So their final thoughts, and I have a final thought because there is something that I haven't seen mentioned in the article, and it's of utmost importance, and it's something you can throw in your pocket and take with you, and it's not going to take up any weight or any room. Of course, there are many more parts and materials in a vehicle that can be used for any number of things, but remember, you will have to carry everything on your back. Any item you carry could have more than one use. Otherwise, it's just extra weight. Survival reality shows have shown the experts collecting gasoline to make fire. While gasoline can be used, it is, however, very dangerous to use for fire making. Look, do what you have to. Just be careful, okay? Gas tanks can be dangerous. If you try to puncture one to gather fuel for fire making, one spark can cause the entire tank to explode, even if no fuel is present in the tank. Vapors in the tank can cause it to explode, and the vapors can remain long after the vehicle has been abandoned in some cases. Use caution when working around any vehicle and only take what you need. And I'm going to comment on that. A lot of tanks nowadays are being made out of plastic, so sparks are not as much of an issue. But if you do come across a tank and it is metal, let me just throw this at you. Knock on the bottom of the tank. If the tank sounds empty or very close to empty, leave it alone. Leave it alone. Don't be trying to jab anything metal through a metal tank that is either empty or near empty. If you knock on the bottom of the tank and it sounds quite full, you're actually in a safer position to poke a hole in it, because there will not be as many fumes as what there is fuel, okay? If there is a spark that goes off and that spark remains actually inside the liquid part of the fuel, the chance of that catching fire is slim to none. I'm telling you, if you don't believe me, take a coffee can, put your couple inches of gasoline in a coffee can, and I'm serious, adults only, please. Put a couple of inches of gasoline in a coffee can and take matches, and I'm serious. Take a match, light the match, and throw it in the coffee can. It will not light on fire. Trust me. There's this huge fear that's built up around gasoline that really doesn't need to be there. So anyway, like I say, there's less likely the chance the tank is going to catch fire or explode if it has any amount of fuel in it, if you do inadvertently cause a spark. So I just wanted to throw that out at you. I take no liability for ignorance. I feel like I need to put a disclaimer there. If it's truly a survival situation, do what you have to do. Now, the one thing that is not mentioned anywhere in this article, and I really, really want to point it out because there is very little weight involved, very little space it will take up. You can throw them in your pocket. Grab light bulbs. Light bulbs, light bulbs, light bulbs. Same with the wiring. And it talked about wiring. Grab you some wire, grab you some light bulbs. You can coil the wire up, put it in your pocket or your backpack as well. The light bulbs, you can do the same. Just because you don't have a battery today doesn't mean you won't have a battery tomorrow. It would kind of suck if tomorrow you came across, say, a rechargeable drill battery or something that had juice in it and you needed light, but you didn't get the light out of that car that you're seeing alongside the road. You would really regret it. So keep that in the back of your mind. It would probably be a really good idea. Seriously, the link for this, I do believe, is in the About tab. It would probably be a good idea either to print out this article, make sure to make a notation about the light bulbs, okay? Or if you don't have a printer handy, just jot it down on paper, stick it in your bug out bag. Any information like this is invaluable. Stick it in your, print it out, write it out, whatever, stick it in your bug out bag, because when it hits the fan, a lot of people, even people that have been talking about this and thinking about this for some time, even myself, is going to be at least under a certain level of shock. So some of the things that they had in mind or in plan are not going to come to mind. We're going to lose sight of them. Okay, so anything that's important information, write it down, print it out, stick it in your bug out bag, have it. That way, even if it's just a little bit of solace, that you can just say, okay, I've got that information in my bag. I know I've got a pocket full of papers in my bag. And, so once I get to a safe location, I can sit down, I can mentally regroup and approach the situation. So that's the biggest part of it. It's you have to be mentally prepared. You have to be ready for whatever is thrown your way. That's what I've got for you tonight. I hope you enjoyed the show. I will be back tomorrow night, of course, If something with Ferguson would happen to pop up tomorrow during the day, as far as a ruling on the indictment, I will come up live. Again, whenever it happens and the protests start, I promise you I will come up live. I will be covering it, whether it be the protest or whatever. I'll set up several screens within the one screen like I have done in the past when I covered protests, and I will bring as much of it to you live as what I can. That's what I've got. Thank you very much for joining us. May God bless you. May He walk with you. Always be one with your spirit. I love you all. Hang in there. Good night.